What if Anakin watched Revenge of the Sith? What would have happened then? We pick up with Anakin waking up after seeing what he assumes is a vision of Padmé dying. Let's begin. Terror jolted Anakin from sleep, the remnants of his vision clinging like a vapor. Padmé's screams echoed in his mind, too vivid to dismiss. He eased himself from their bed, careful not to disturb her rest, and made his way to the veranda. The endless streams of Coruscant traffic offered no comfort tonight. Padmé found him there, concern etching her features. Their conversation unfolded in quiet tones, his admission about the dream, her gentle reassurances, the shared fears about their future. They returned to bed, Padmé drifting back to sleep, while Anakin lay awake, his mind replaying the vision. The persistent chime of his datapad cut through the silence, a standard-issue Jedi device secured with layers of encryption for Council communications. The alert repeated every 5 seconds, somehow bypassing his notification filters and even the Council's priority protocols. Anakin's cybernetic hand reached for the device. The holomail interface illuminated the darkness, its blue glow reflecting off the room's surfaces. The sender's information displayed only scrambled data. The message header appeared in high galactic script. It read, "Your fate." Opening the message, Anakin found 2 elements. In the contents section, the text, "Your fate is yours to change," and a single attached video file. He glanced at Padmé's sleeping form before moving to the adjacent room, keeping the door slightly ajar. The video began with strange symbols and logos he had never seen before, unfamiliar companies against a black backdrop. Then came a surge of music that made him quickly lower the volume, followed by text in brilliant blue. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. More orchestral music accompanied a golden title crawl. Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Anakin frowned at the strange title before focusing on the text below, which spoke of war, of battles above Coruscant, of Chancellor Palpatine's capture. Anakin leaned closer as the text tilted into space, and the view panned down to reveal the Battle of Coruscant. His eyes narrowed as he watched himself and Obi-Wan leading the assault to rescue the Chancellor. The recording captured impossible angles, and strangest of all included sounds that couldn't exist in the vacuum of space. The roar of engines, the thunder of laser fire, the screech of fighters as they passed. He paused the recording, scanning the room for any sign of surveillance. Could this be some elaborate joke? But the details were too precise. Views from inside his own fighter cockpit. Conversations no outside observer could have captured. No prankster, not even another Jedi, could have fabricated this level of detail. His flesh hand trembled slightly as he pressed play again, forcing himself to breathe slowly as the impossible recording continued to unfold. The dialogue in High Galactic caught him off guard. His own voice carried an unfamiliar cadence, the formal pronunciation making simple conversations seem theatrical. Anakin paused the recording again, moving to the window. The endless lanes of Coruscant traffic continued their normal patterns. No suspicious vehicles hovering nearby, no sign of surveillance droids. He returned to the recording, watching events unfold exactly as they had mere hours ago. The rescue mission, the crash landing, every detail matched his memory, apart from the impossible camera angles and the dramatic score that swelled beneath each moment. When he saw himself embracing Padmé at the Senate building, his hand instinctively moved toward the pause control. But he forced himself to continue watching, first darting back to their bedroom to confirm she still slept peacefully, scanning one more time for any hidden recording devices. The holovid showed his nightmare about Padmé, their conversation about it, then jumped forward to the next morning. Anakin checked the timestamp, no sign of the current message he was watching. His throat tightened as events began diverging from his reality. He watched himself seeking counsel from Master Yoda, then turning to Palpatine. His chest constricted as the Chancellor spoke of Darth Plagueis, of powers that could prevent death. Anakin's mechanical hand gripped the datapad harder, recognizing the temptation in his recorded self's eyes. Scene after scene showed his descent, pledging himself to the Sith, leading troops into the temple. Cutting down, Anakin had to pause, bile rising in his throat. Younglings. The recording showed Obi-Wan and Yoda discovering the massacre, Padmé confronting him on Mustafar, his own voice declaring allegiance to a new empire, speaking of bringing peace through dominance. Then, Anakin's hand shook as he watched himself attack Padmé, watched Obi-Wan emerge from her ship. The duel that followed made him feel physically ill. Every strike, every exchange of former brothers, now mortal enemies. The final moments on the lava bank, his own screams of hatred. He forced himself to watch as his charred body was reconstructed into a mechanical monstrosity. As Padmé died in childbirth, giving life to twins, the revelation hitting him like a shock, He watched himself arise in a black suit designed to inspire terror. The recording concluded with his children separated, the girl to Bail Organa, the boy to Tatooine with Obi-Wan. Credits began to roll, listing unfamiliar names, actors, directors. The datapad slipped from his trembling fingers, clattering on the floor. He began pacing, running both hands through his hair, trying to process what he'd witnessed. A warning? A threat? Some elaborate deception? But the details were too precise, the emotions too raw. He spent the remainder of the night replaying the recording, pausing at the credits, searching name after name. Each search yielded nothing in the HoloNet archives. The names themselves seemed alien. Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman. They didn't follow any naming conventions he knew from any sector of the galaxy. The corporate entities proved equally baffling. Their logos appeared nowhere in business registries. The production company's name yielded zero results in media conglomerate databases. He tried variations of the spelling, checked for subsidiary companies, even attempted to trace similar naming patterns across multiple sectors. Nothing. And this George Lucas person, no trace of him either. Could Lucas be some unknown force deity, some ancient being watching and recording their lives? The thought sent a chill through him. The Jedi archives contained records of strange force entities, beings of pure energy, who existed beyond normal space and time. Perhaps this Lucas was one of them, reaching across dimensions to warn him about Palpatine. Padmé found him at dawn, still hunched over the datapad. Her gentle touch on his shoulder made him jump. "Anakin, what's wrong?" He quickly closed the video. Nothing. Just some information from Ahsoka about her mission to Mandalore. The lie felt bitter on his tongue, but how could he explain this? Then another realization struck him. Ahsoka never appeared in the recording. His former Padawan's absence created another knot of questions in his mind. After Padmé departed for the Senate, Anakin rushed to the temple. He needed to test something. Master Yoda received him in the meditation chamber, and Anakin carefully reconstructed the conversation from the recording, describing his dreams about Padmé's death. He spoke in basic rather than the formal high galactic of the video, watching intently for any deviation. Master Yoda's response mirrored the recording with unsettling precision. The ancient Jedi Master spoke of attachment and loss, of the natural order of death. Each word landed like a hammer blow as Anakin recalled the corresponding scene from the mysterious transmission. He bowed mechanically and hurried from the chamber, his mind racing. Obi-Wan. In the recording, his mentor had stood over him on that lava bank, grief and determination on his face as he delivered the final strikes. Perhaps Anakin deserved such a fate if he could be manipulated into slaughtering younglings, into harming Padmé. But that future now existed only in the strange transmission. He could prevent it. He found Obi-Wan in the briefing room, shutting off holograms and electronic charts. They spoke of the Outer Rim sieges, of Seleucamai's fall and Master Voss's movements, the same conversation he had seen in the holovid. As Obi-Wan spoke of Palpatine's increasing executive powers, the words echoed strangely in Anakin's mind as fragments of that final duel flashed before him. His hands clutched at his head, drawing a concerned look from his former master. "Anakin, what's troubling you?" Anakin's thoughts raced ahead to what would come next. Palpatine, no, Sidious, maneuvering him onto the council, each move part of an elaborate plan leading to that horrific fate he'd witnessed. Obi-Wan studied his former apprentice's distress. "Anakin, what aren't you telling me?" he asked. The words tumbled out before Anakin could stop them. "I had a vision. Grievous and the Separatist leaders are on Utapau." He met Obi-Wan's startled gaze. "And Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious." Obi-Wan's expression froze. Anakin grabbed his arm, pulling him toward a quiet corner of the briefing room. "This was different from the visions I've had before," Anakin said. "It was different, clearer, more real. I saw everything, Grievous on Utapau, Palpatine revealing himself as Sidious, and..." His eyes widened as the full horror of the memory struck him. "The clones, Obi-Wan. The clones are a part of his plan to destroy the Jedi. Fives was right about the inhibitor chips. If Palpatine executes Order 66, the chips will force them to turn on us." "Anakin, are you certain?" Obi-Wan studied him intently. "Yes." Anakin's mechanical hand clenched into a fist. "Yes. We need to speak with the council immediately." Obi-Wan activated his comm, calling for an emergency council session. The council chamber filled quickly. Anakin stood in the center, presenting what he'd seen as Force visions. The only explanation he could offer that wouldn't involve explaining how he'd watched a recording of his own future downfall. The Masters exchanged skeptical glances at his claims about Palpatine. Even coming from one of the Chancellor's closest allies, such an accusation required substantial proof. When Anakin spoke of Order 66 and the inhibitor chips, the initial disbelief in the chamber was palpable. The Council met his claims about Palpatine and the clone army with initial skepticism. However, they agreed to investigate Utapau first, as it could be verified quickly. When their scouts confirmed the Separatist presence and Grievous exactly as Anakin had described, the Council's attitude shifted dramatically. The connection between Dooku's involvement in creating the clone army and Fives' dismissed claims about the inhibitor chips suddenly demanded new scrutiny. The implications were staggering. If Palpatine was indeed the Sith Lord, then the entire clone army, the very weapon they'd been using to fight the Separatists, had been engineered as a trap. Through Order 66 and the inhibitor chips, Palpatine could turn every clone trooper against their Jedi commanders instantly. The Council couldn't risk confronting him while he held that power. Their first priority had to be neutralizing the threat of Order 66 without alerting the Chancellor to their discovery. The Council's investigation began with Master Nu accessing the complete documentation of contingency orders. The protocols, standard military contingency orders accessible to all command staff, filled dozens of data screens in the archive. Each one detailed legitimate procedures for various military scenarios, but among them lay Order 66, its true purpose hidden beneath seemingly reasonable language. "Here it is," Obi-Wan said, highlighting Order 66. The text glowed on the screen, detailing authorization for clone commanders to eliminate Jedi officers. His eyes narrowed as they tracked to the adjacent order. And look at this. Order 65 provides similar provisions for removing the Supreme Chancellor. The parallel structure is interesting. "Notice the authorization requirements," Obi-Wan said, leaning closer. Order 65 requires either Senate majority or Security Council approval, but Order 66? "Only the Chancellor can give that command," Anakin finished, his jaw tightening. "No Senate vote, no Council approval, just his word alone." Master Windu's expression hardened as he studied the protocols. Order 65 is merely for show. The Senate cannot act against him. He controls too many votes. The Security Council won't move without irrefutable evidence, and Force visions won't suffice. He surveyed the gathered masters. The Jedi Council must take control of the Republic. It's the only way to save it from the Sith. Bail Organa arrived at the temple within minutes of receiving Master Windu's urgent summons. In the Council's private chamber, they shared only what he needed to know: evidence of the Chancellor's corruption, the threat to the Republic's stability, the need for immediate intervention through official channels. The Senator absorbed the information, his diplomatic training evident in his measured response. "If the Security Council designates me as interim Chancellor, I'll serve," he said. The Council divided their forces. Master Windu assembled his team for the Security Council. They would orchestrate the vote to remove Palpatine and install Organa before anyone could react. Master Yoda gathered a larger force near the Chancellor's office. Obi-Wan, Anakin, Shak Ti, and a dozen other Masters and Knights positioned throughout the Senate building's upper levels. They waited, lightsabers concealed but ready, for the signal that would come the moment Palpatine lost his authority. The operation unfolded in rapid sequence. Master Windu's team entered the Security Council chamber, their force suggestions flowing through the minds of the Council members. Within moments, the vote was called. The vote came swiftly. Order 65 was executed, removing Palpatine from office, Organa appointed as interim Chancellor. The Security Council's declaration automatically triggered emergency protocols across the Republic's communication networks. The announcement of Palpatine's removal and Organa's appointment as interim Chancellor transmitted instantly across every GAR frequency in the galaxy. Most crucially, the command systems responded to Order 65's execution by immediately disabling Palpatine's access to the Chancellor's official communication frequency, the very channel required to issue orders with the Chancellor's authority. Without it, he could no longer execute Order 66. Master Yoda's team moved toward the Chancellor's office the instant the command systems confirmed Palpatine's access was severed. Deprived of his ultimate weapon against the Jedi, the Sith Lord would now face the full might of the Order. The Jedi burst into the Chancellor's office, their sabers still unlit. Palpatine rose from his desk, hands raised in a gesture of compliance. "Masters, there seems to be some misunderstanding. I'll help clear everything up." Anakin stepped forward. "I saw it all. Darth Plagueis, the inhibitor chips, Order 66. His saber ignited with a snap hiss. "You're Darth Sidious." The other Masters remained poised, watchful. Anakin made to leap forward, but Yoda's voice cut through the tension. "Wait." The ancient Master's eyes narrowed. Into his mind, "Look we shall. If innocent he is, nothing to fear has he." More than a dozen Jedi Masters focused their collective will on Palpatine's mental defenses. Under their combined power, his shields cracked. The dark energy of the Sith Lord's true nature poured through the fissures. Anakin struck in that instant. His blade arced toward Palpatine's neck as the Sith Lord's golden saber materialized to meet it. The clash of their weapons confirmed his identity more definitively than any mind probe. The office erupted into motion. Master Yoda's green blade joined the fray, followed by a dozen others. Palpatine snarled, his face contorting with rage and confusion as he parried their attacks. His eyes locked onto Anakin, questioning how his careful plans had unraveled. He never received his answer. Anakin's blade found its mark, separating Palpatine's head from his shoulders. The Sith Lord's body crumpled. His mysterious machinations ended forever. Events moved swiftly after that. The Separatist leadership's arrest on Utapau brought the war to an abrupt close. Before the Senate, Grievous and the other leaders testified about their mysterious benefactor, Darth Sidious. When investigators uncovered the financial trails through shell corporations and hidden accounts, the evidence confirmed what Palpatine's attack on the Jedi had already proven. The Chancellor and the Sith Lord were one and the same. The Republic's transition to new leadership proceeded smoothly. While the Senate prepared for fresh elections, life took gentler turns. In a private medical facility on Coruscant, Padmé gave birth to twins, Luke and Leia, both healthy, both strong in the Force. Anakin's nightmares of her death faded like morning mist. Only one question lingered in his mind as he cradled his children. What was that strange recording that had saved him from darkness? The file had vanished from his datapad, leaving no trace in the device's memory. Days later, another message appeared on his datapad, bearing the same scrambled sender information. Did everything work out for you? Anakin composed his reply carefully. Yes. Who are you? Someone who wanted to see your fate changed. Enjoy your life. The messages vanished, leaving no trace in any communication logs. Anakin searched for years but never found another clue about their mysterious benefactor. Life flowed onward. The twins grew strong in the Force. Padmé's influence in the Senate helped forge a more stable republic. The Jedi Order evolved under Anakin's guidance when he eventually took the role of Grand Master, balancing tradition with necessary change. They found ways to guide Force-sensitive children while maintaining their family bonds, preventing the isolation that had made him so vulnerable to Palpatine's manipulation. Decades passed in peace. When Anakin's time finally came, his family surrounded his bed, Padmé's hand clasped in his, Luke and Leia nearby with their own children. He closed his eyes, ready to become one with the Force. System notification. Simulation complete. Your eyes snapped open to the sterile white ceiling of the neural interface chamber. The year was 2035, and the lingering memories of a life as Anakin Skywalker began fading like a dream. The simulation's time dilation had stretched 2 days of real time into 50 years of lived experience. For your turn with the scenario, you'd chosen to be Anakin at the moment he wakes from that vision. But with one key change, he would receive a mysterious message containing revenge of the Sith. Like all character immersion simulations, your real memories had been muted, while the AI planted all of Anakin's prior memories, letting you truly embody him from that moment forward. Now those artificial memories were dissolving, blending with fragments of your real past. Through your neural implant, messages from your fellow participants flashed across your vision. Your friend who had played Padmé shot over a string of laughing emojis with "Best shared sim yet." The one who had been Obi-Wan called out, "My turn to pick the next scenario," but was immediately interrupted by the Yoda player insisting, "No way, we're doing the Clone Wars arc next." Master Yoda killed Ki-Adi Mundi for having a better business card than him.